just now. So, Tammy, they're trying to remake her before our very eyes.
Yeah, they are. We're already seeing the headlines. She's a go-getter. She's taking control, all of that. We're used to that. But we're now in a phase where we understand what the media does. They're going to do their best. We saw what they did for Biden, and then we saw them turn on Biden. And the American people now, I think, are a bit more educated about what's happened. People may be forgetting how bad of a candidate she was in 2019, but there are stories that are still there, and mostly it's stories about lack of vision, the treatment of staff, people left saying things publicly to the LA Times, as an example, and other outlets, that they've never seen such a badly run campaign. Her sister has been involved, though, from the start, and I think currently, and of course that's family, Maya, and so we don't hear much about who's advising her and who's moving her in this direction, but so far it has been bad. At the same time, she hasn't really faced scrutiny to any real degree. Yes, there's been weird statements, and we have clips of her saying strange things and all of that, but when there's finally some scrutiny, she will not be able to stand up for that. And she's part of the problems that we are dealing with, clearly. The borders are, we hear about that a great deal, but it's mostly, why don't her staff stay? Why is there such a turnover? Why do they, one phrase in the New York Times was soul-crushing criticism and a lack of involvement in the process. So Kamala Harris hasn't changed. So we'll find out how this plays out.
Well, we've learned a lesson here. Normally the debates are after the conventions, but because this was before the DNC, they had time to put someone else in.
Right. Well, and I think that on both sides, clearly there had been concern, not because of his mental state, he's been this way from the beginning, but because Trump wasn't being destroyed by the lawfare. We saw, in fact, it wasn't even just static, it moved up. They realized they had a problem, that initial plan wasn't working. And so they needed, and I think Joe Biden wanted to reassert, I can do this, but people have changed. Donald Trump has changed, Joe Biden has changed, and that, if they it was going to go one way or the other, but it did give them time to switch out.
She's clearly played a key role in covering up his decline. And
Yes,
the Wall Street Journal breaks it down today in great detail back in 2021, where in front of people he's fallen apart. And people have noticed, and she's made sure that that story did not get out. Now, in your book, you talk about, you call the left's way of putting fear into everything they do.
Well, that's it. But it's they rely on that. It's their primary narrative and agenda, and this is why everything's happening. They're collapsing right now because if you're relying on fear mongering, on lies, on gaslighting, on misleading, and that's all the energy. I come from the left. All the energy is put into manipulating people. When that happens, if the curtain is pulled back, as it has been, you're unprepared to deal with the details of the issues. You govern badly because you're not thinking of the issues, and then when suddenly the light is on, there's a collapse, and that's what we're seeing right now. So the book, it goes through, it's an ancient technique, right? The main thing I want people to go away with, because we're going to see identity politics ramped up in the next few months. Nothing's going to change, right? That toning it down lasted 24 hours. More attacks, not just on Trump, but on voters and on people who do not comply or obey. It's not natural, it's not organic, it's not inevitable, it is not a new normal, and it's based on what the individual does. So this is about chronic fear that moves you into mass anxiety, that paralyzes you, makes it unsafe to participate in society, makes you afraid of saying something, because who knows, as the rules of language change every day, getting fired because of pronouns, getting fired or shunned because you might want to talk about an issue that people don't want to talk about. But it's all here, and it's an uplifting story because we can overcome it. You've got to know what you're dealing with.
I love the title, Fear Itself.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Out today.
Everyone go buy it.
Thank
Fear
you, everyone.
Itself. We're just learning some news, right, Brian?